Okay, so I'm back with you now here for probable cause. Probable cause is an extremely important definition for you to know. I cannot emphasize how important it is for you to know and understand what probable cause is. Okay, for most of this course, I will tell you different things like, um, like the Second Amendment gives you the right to keep and bear arms. Okay. It's not important for you to know the entire text of the Second Amendment exactly as it's written. It's just important for you to know what rights that amendment provides. Okay. This right here, the definition of probable cause, is one exception to that rule. In this instance, I would say that you need to understand what probable cause is by this exact definition. Okay, word for word, verbatim, exactly what is written here. Probable cause is those facts and circumstances within knowledge and of which trustworthy information sufficient in themselves to warrant a man of reasonable caution in the belief that an offense has been or is being committed. Okay, so this definition of probable cause comes from the case of Carroll v. United States. Carroll v. United States, an extremely important case for you to read the syllabus and the ruling of the court. Okay. Carroll v. United States actually gives us one of the most used exceptions to the search warrant requirement found in the Fourth Amendment. Okay, so you want to know and understand Carroll v. United States. Okay, but in this instance, what had happened, um, federal revenue agents stopped a car to be smuggling moonshine, looked facts and circumstances that led them to believe that the occupants of the moonshine under the seat. And so they cut the seat open without a warrant. And so they cut the seat open, found the moonshine, seized the moonshine, arrested the guys, charged them criminally, and we went to court. And this one goes to the Supreme Court, and ordinarily, this evidence that was seized would be excluded under the exclusionary rule, and the agents would be chastised for violating the crap out of the Fourth Amendment. But instead, the Supreme Court says not so fast. In this instance, this search was reasonable, and the Fourth Amendment only protects against unreasonable searches. Okay, and so with that, basically what they said was it is unreasonable to expect the officer to take the necessary time to seize the vehicle, obtain a search warrant, conduct the search, and then return the vehicle. There you're talking about matters of hours, and in the 1920s, probably even days. Today, it would take hours to complete that process. So the Supreme Court basically said that there's a two-pronged test here, that one, the officers must have probable cause, which is the definition you see there, to believe that a crime is occurring in the vehicle, and that the vehicle is readily mobile, meaning that it can be driven away, sailed away, flown away, whatever. It can leave where they are. Okay. And so that's exactly what occurred here under Carroll. And they said that it's unreasonable to expect an officer to obtain a search warrant in that case. And therefore, it is reasonable that if they can articulate probable cause at the time of the search that is sufficient to have obtained a search warrant, then the officers may go ahead and search the vehicle, document their probable cause that led to the search in their reports, and then we'll argue about it later in court. And so this is where you see a lot of times in your YouTube videos where people get absolutely beside themselves upset with law enforcement because they're searching a vehicle on the side of the road after having stopped a vehicle for a traffic infraction, and they're searching the vehicle without a warrant, and people are, like, oh my God, I don't consent to a search, and blah, 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 blah. Well, I don't need you to consent to the search, and I don't need a warrant. The Supreme Court ruled on this a long time ago, nearly 100 years ago. And so the search to be reasonable, and we'll deal with it later. So moving on. Remember that in the Fourth Amendment, it says that search warrants must be issued based upon probable cause. Okay, so you see that right there. But also understand that even though we have the exception of Carroll, and most of the time judges prefer that we use the Carroll exception or the Carroll doctrine, which is also called the automobile exception. Most of the time judges prefer that we use the Carroll doctrine, but understand that a lot of times warrants are preferred over consent or other exceptions to the warrant requirement because there is an independent review of the probable cause leading to the issuance of the warrant by a magistrate. So it's not just the officers deciding on their own. There's an independent review of the information and then the authorization of a search warrant. Okay, so then here we come to United States v. NASCAR, which is where we talk about how we develop probable cause. One of these things is the collective knowledge of the police. There's another phrase that goes with collective knowledge of the police, which is knowledge of one is knowledge of all. Okay, so if officers in liberal Kansas are investigating a person for a crime, they can contact surrounding agencies, Hugoton Police Department, Stevens County Sheriff's Office, Kansas Highway Patrol, Oklahoma Highway, Beaver County Sheriff's Office, Beaver City Police, Texas County Sheriff's Office, Tyrone, Oklahoma Police. Talk to all these different agencies and get what they know, and these things lead together to help establish probable cause. Then there's also the officer's own knowledge and their senses. So if I smell marijuana emanating from the vehicle or from the house, then my nose is telling me that a crime is occurring because it's illegal to possess marijuana inside the state of Kansas for any reason. Okay, so my own senses can help to establish probable cause. Then we have flight, which is running from us. Furtive conduct, which is things that just it makes you look like you're engaging in something criminal. Real or physical evidence, so that's going to be the gun, the slug, the casing, the blood spatter, those sorts of things. Admissions, that's kind of obvious. False and implausible answers. Now, this one is kind of interesting to explain to you. With false or implausible answers, that would be like, I'm on a traffic stop and I'm talking to somebody and they tell me that they're going from Phoenix, Arizona to Kansas City, Kansas. But I've got them stopped on, Highway 83 up north of Liberal. There's no reason for somebody traveling from Phoenix, Arizona to Kansas City, Kansas to be on Highway 83. There's just no reason for it. So that might be an implausible answer, or that their time doesn't match up or something. They left Phoenix at 5:00 this afternoon, and it's now 10:00, and I'm like, it's like 14 hours to get from Phoenix to Liberal. You didn't leave 5 hours ago. So something like that. Of course, presence at the crime scene or in a high crime area, association with other criminals, past criminal conduct. Those things are kind of obvious. And then there's information that comes from informants. So like if, informants are fairly simple. You can read about that in your book, and it's fairly simple. But important to understand that not necessarily one of the things alone means probable cause exists. It's a totality of the circumstances. So if I have the smell of marijuana, I can see the marijuana inside the house. They tell me that it's there. Okay, now I have 3 or 4 different things leading to the tantamount probable cause, not just one thing alone.